completed 75 Self this last Friday, and I have taken away so much from it. If you guys have been following me a while, you would have seen this on my YouTube or my Instagram, where I've been posting a lot of updates on this challenge. But if you haven't been following along, that's all okay too. My job here is to basically try things and figure out what works so that I can share it with you guys. But if I am a new face to you, hi, hello, beautiful people of the internet. My name is Jada, and welcome back to my channel. I post a lot of lifestyle content, but also a lot of self-help content. Essentially, I try the things that I'm gonna give you guys advice on, and I document that process along the way, then try to give you my overall takeaways like I'm doing here today. So let's talk about 75 Soft. For those of you who don't know, 75 Soft is a 75-day challenge loosely based off of 75 Hard. I believe it was made with the intention of creating something a little bit less intense than 75 Hard, which is this really crazy mental toughness challenge. I'll pull up the general rules for each one that you can have a quick comparison, but there's a major difference between the two. 75 Hard is a strict program that has to be followed exactly as it is. If someone is saying that they did 75 Hard but they changed up the rules, then they didn't do 75 Hard. They did 75 Soft. And 75 Soft has a kind of basic set of rules that is the general idea, but it can be changed. Like I said, the goal with 75 Soft was to create something less intense than 75 Hard, basically to make something more achievable and more like lifestyle based. I actually attempted 75 Hard back in March of last year, I believe. I made it 21 days through before failing because I got sick. I do think I could have made it quite a bit further had I not gotten sick, and I did feel really good during that time period. However, I was also swamped all the time and exhausted and felt like I couldn't keep up with it a lot of days. Throughout 75 Soft, I didn't really have that same feeling, and obviously I was able to get through the entire thing. I'm also still mostly continuing those habits past the challenge, so I think just that alone says a lot about like the difficulty, but also the reality of both of these challenges. I do want to give a little disclaimer that I did miss a few tasks, very few, probably less than a handful overall. Over the course of the 75 days, I wouldn't consider it a loss like I would for 75 Hard because, as I said, it's not as strict as a challenge, and if I did consider it a fail, it would have adverse effects on me and my life. It would probably lead to a lot of negative self-talk and a lot of thinking that I can't do anything, when realistically I was consistently healthy throughout this entire thing. Speaking of which, I didn't even say what my official rules were. So mine was the softer version of 75 Hard. It was one 45-minute workout every day except for one rest day during the week, 10 pages of any book, half a gallon of water, and a generally healthy diet. I would say my diet was the biggest struggle. You guys can kind of see if you watch my vlogs throughout this time. I altered my rules a little bit because I had some specific things that went into my diet, like no fast food, very limited snacking, no caffeine, no sodas, and 3 meals a day. I believe that was all. I had one day that I ate fast food that was predetermined. When I was going to Louisiana, I was getting Checkers because we don't have Checkers in Colorado, so I was like, I'm not gonna not eat this for a stupid challenge. I snacked a lot more than I probably should have. I also didn't have 3 meals a lot of days because I would wake up super late in the day and go to sleep super early, so there wasn't really that natural time to eat like a breakfast because it was already lunch when I woke up. Never had caffeine, never had sodas. That's just something that I've been sticking to for a while. So my rules kind of did alter a little bit throughout the full time period, which I think is okay because I think I was trying to figure out what was reasonable, at least in this period of my life. Some of the rules that I set for myself early on just didn't make sense throughout the entire time, and I would still consider that a win because I didn't have that crash from failure like I would have had I been super strict on myself. And now this is something I can maintain past the challenge confinements. Anyways, this is kind of a long intro-ish, but let's go into the things that I actually learned. I've kind of touched on this already, but number one, 75 Soft is more sustainable than 75 Hard. I've attempted both and only one actually worked for me. Discipline does not have to be extreme to be effective. All that discipline is doing the things that you told yourself you're gonna do. If you set your standards a little bit lower, then it's easier to meet those standards and continue with that momentum momentum. So you can keep building your own standards and keep growing over time. Whereas if you set a really high standard and you demand discipline from yourself to meet that standard every single day, eventually you're gonna crash. And that is not effective and not sustainable. Which leads me to number 2, momentum means a lot more than perfection. As a perfectionist, this really pains me to say, but you don't have to have a 10 out of 10 perfect day every single day to make progress. You're making progress when you're putting in effort and you're doing the things that you said you were gonna do. And that doesn't mean doing every single individual thing that you said you would do. Sometimes it means having a 10 out of 10 day and then the next day having a 6 out of 10 day. Like if after that 6 out of 10 day you end up having a 0 out of 10 day because you were so depressed about the fact you didn't have a 10 out of 10 day, you took away from potentially having another 6 out of 10 day or 8 out of 10 day. You have to build on what you already see yourself doing. You know, sometimes when you're having a good day, it feels easier to continue having a good day. Just like when you're having a bad day, it seems like it's easier to just keep having a bad day. It all feeds into itself. That's because of momentum. An object in motion stays in motion, and that applies to us too. We will just keep going in one direction until we hit a wall. So try your best to keep that momentum going upwards. And if you do hit a wall, just try and do something to get yourself back on your feet again. Number 3, your health is better defined by how you feel than how you look. Your appearance actually doesn't define how healthy you are. And I mean this in both ways. Sometimes the most unhealthy people look wonderful, and sometimes the healthiest people don't look super great. You need to trust how you feel internally because 1, only you know how you feel internally. It doesn't matter if you're skinny and you're getting headaches all the time, stomach aches, you feel tired, you feel sore. You want to wake up feeling good. And also, number 2, your mental health is included in physical health. And if your body feels good but your brain doesn't, that's also a sign you're not completely healthy. Number 4, and if you guys have been following for a long time, you would know I hate to say this, but your sleep, nutrition, hydration, and movement are non-negotiables. You can try your absolute hardest to be so hyper disciplined that you don't need to sleep, that you don't need to eat. You can skip a meal, you can sleep 5 hours a night, as long as you're disciplined and you make sure this one thing gets done or you finish this other thing. It doesn't matter. You are going to crash. That is not sustainable. I'll tell you guys a secret right now. If you want to be the most productive you can be, you need to prioritize all that other stuff. Your body will give out on you if you're not sleeping, you're not eating, and you're not drinking water. You will have to fight 10 times as hard just to do a task that would be relatively easy had you been taken care of. Same thing with movement. Movement gives you the endorphins that you need, the dopamine that you need to keep going. If you've never tried working out when you're having an off day, then you don't know what you're missing out on. And if you've done that before but you don't have the same results, then you haven't found the right workout for you. But with all this being said, my main point is taking care of yourself at a base level is the most productive thing that you can do for yourself, and it will affect every other area of your life in a positive way. Number 5, overnight success is not realistic. Another thing I hate to say because, you know, I'm one of those girls who wants to just change their life overnight, up at 2 a.m. making a game plan for how I'm gonna be a different person when I wake up in the morning. But it doesn't work like that. Success is based off of small routines that compound over time. You don't need that overnight success to actually feel better. You feeling better comes from that momentum and that gradual climb. Number 6, everyone needs structure, but not pressure. I see a lot of people who remain adamant that they're not the type of person who wants to pull out a planner or to-do list because they don't want to feel like their life is work. I get it, I completely understand, but I truly believe that everyone needs some kind of general structure, general routine to move themselves in a positive direction. Structure can be grounding, comforting. It doesn't always have to be stressful. I promise you, you don't have to suffocate yourself with it. You have to know your line, and I think everyone owes it to themselves to find that line. Number 7, you can take all the advice you want, but the best person to learn from is yourself. I know it's a little hypocritical coming from someone who is giving advice, but also I'm not like bagging on advice from other people. It can be good, but really you're gonna learn a lot of the same things if you just do the thing yourself, and you'll figure out exactly what works for you. Other people might assist you and get you kind of quicker to that point, but if there's something missing and there's something you're not understanding, it's probably because you're not learning it within yourself. So like a lot of advice is really generalized and it's helpful at that baseline, but you are the one that's gonna figure out how to make it applicable to you. So if I say, you know, drink a bunch of water, yes, in theory that's helpful, but you need to make yourself figure out how you're gonna achieve that, because maybe it doesn't come so naturally to you. Or maybe you're getting all this advice to work out, but you hate all traditional forms of movement. You may have figured out you're not a weightlifter, you're not a runner, but maybe it's something really odd that you haven't really tried yet. I don't know. I can't be the one to figure that out for you. That's where you just have to start trying shit and seeing if it works. But I want to make it clear that you're not lazy. strategy. You just don't know yourself yet. And you're probably getting overwhelmed by your current routine. Sometimes other people's tips don't work for you because they're not for you. Start trying things so that you can figure out what's working best for you. And lastly, it's really hard to better yourself when you don't love yourself. But the caveat is bettering yourself can also make you love yourself. What I mean by this is doing things for your future self is a love language. It's really hard to show that love to someone who you don't think deserves it. If you don't think you're good enough, if you don't think that you deserve good things in life, you're gonna have a lot of resistance to doing things that are productive for you and doing things that will make yourself better. It's self-sabotage, it's a coping mechanism, it's a limiting belief, it's literally everything that we learn to combat in therapy. But it's also really hard to force yourself into loving yourself, and taking these actions despite how you feel is one of the quickest ways to start that transition. You can build your confidence in other ways, but really the best way to love yourself is to show yourself reasons why you are worthy and why you're doing well. So if you do kind of get stuck in that loop where you feel like you don't deserve it, so you shouldn't do these things to improve upon yourself, just think about how much more you will value yourself when you are putting in that work. I promise you, just putting in effort goes a long way. And after 75 days, I'm nowhere near perfect. I still have a lot of bad days. I still have a lot of days I don't feel super good about myself. But at the end of it all, I love myself more than I did when I started. I am, if anything, 1% healthier. I have been drinking more water. I've been eating better. I've been sleeping better. I've been working out again. I've been reading more. I've been writing more. I'm way more intentional about my days, way more thoughtful about how I'm feeling. So yeah, even though I do have a ways to go, I feel like this challenge is so worth it, and anyone who has the bandwidth should try it. And if you don't feel like you have the bandwidth to do the rules that I set out for myself, then you can make them a little bit softer. Remember that this challenge is made to be sustainable and made to be something that works for you, still with a little bit of a push so that you are growing, but still achievable for you. And keep in mind too that the 75 days allows you enough time to go through those up and down periods throughout it. At some points you're probably gonna feel like it's not worth it, or you should quit, or it's stupid, but at the end of the 75 days you'll feel like you actually did something useful, and it'll prove to you that all the times you kept going when you didn't think it was worth it were worth it. So yeah, those are my closing thoughts. If you guys have any questions, any thoughts, any concerns, whatever, leave them in the comments below, or you can DM me on Instagram. I read every comment, check every DM, so always available for you guys. And if you guys did enjoy this video, be sure to leave it a like, and if you're feeling generous, you can even subscribe. I do hope to see you guys all in the next video, but if not, bye bye.